You can play Commander on Magic Online for a single dollar bill, $1 right now. This is a Commander deck tech about Hapatra, one of the most fun commanders there is. And by clicking the first link in the description, you can see the entire list and buy it for $1 on Magic Online, $1. Not something you'll ever be able to do on Magic Arena. I'll show you prices throughout the video in digital and in paper, so you'll see just how cheap it is in both formats. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, remember hit that like button, helps out a lot. Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, is 1 black and 1 green for a 2/2 legendary creature human cleric. Whenever Hapatra deals combat damage to a player, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Whenever you put one or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create a 1/1 green snake creature token with Death Touch. So, Hapatra is not subtle. The entire point of her existence is to spread -1/-1 counters like a plague, create a giant army of Death Touch snakes, and outvalue her opponents until they all die. I'd say a bunch of 1/1 Death Touchers make for great blockers. Her subtle smile is suffused with venom, no kidding. Hapatra is a nasty commander to go up against, and you're about to find out why. Want to punish your friends for playing too many creatures? Get ready for the ride of your life. We all like 1/1 Death Touch snakes, but let's be real, they aren't going to live for very long. Neither are your opponent's creatures, so we're starting this deck with the bomb win condition. Falconwrath Noble, Poison Tip Archer, Zulaport Cutthroat, and Obelisk Spider. Each of these creatures drains opponents quickly and ruthlessly, winning your games way faster than you normally should. Creatures will die every turn, they just will, no way around it. Creatures will get -1/-1 counters, as you'll soon see, no way around it. These 4 cards end the game. Now, let's see how they do it. This deck needs to place -1/-1 counters to get snakes and eventually win the game. We'll begin with the end of the battlefield abilities. Banewhip Punisher drops a counter, then destroys the creature with the counter on it. Brutal. Carnifex Demon is a monstrous bomb, getting 2 counters right off the bat, then placing counters on everything else. Those are separate triggers. So many snakes, all the snakes. Grim Poppet can remove counters from itself to plague other creatures and get more snakes. Skin Render is basically removal. Soul Snuffers is 4 mana to blanket the board with counters and snakes. So disgusting. And Wickerbow Elder is fantastic, a repeatable source of artifact and enchantment destruction. Keep placing counters on it, watch everything die. -1/-1 counters aren't necessarily all about direct removal, sometimes you just want some snakes. Channeler Initiate is ramp and fixing plus snakes. Decimator Beetle is actually really interesting. Its second trigger is powerful. You don't even need to remove a -1/-1 counter from a creature you control to put a -1/-1 on target creature. Not sure it was meant to be worded like that, but it works. Defiant Great Maw is an excellent counter-moving hippo, giving you free reign to move your counters whenever you plague it. Deity of Scars is probably never going to die, regenerating itself by removing counters. You can place more on later, and again, it will just never die. Noxious Hatchling comes with a bunch of counters on it, but then it has Wither, so when it deals damage to creatures, boom, more snakes, more counters, more party time for you. And then Soul Stinger, love this card. You get a snake when it enters the battlefield, you get a snake when it leaves, and probably kill something. Good old Scorpion Demon. We're also running a load of spells to place -1/-1 counters, get snakes, and make opponents sad. Incremental Blight is a real banger, generating 3 snakes and removing 6 power and toughness from the board, probably killing something along the way. Grim Affliction generates a snake and then proliferates, letting us add counters for everything with counters, making a whole bunch more snakes, so good. Splendid Agony is 2 counters for 2 snakes. Torment of Venom is mainly here for the counter synergy, but hey, bolting someone isn't so bad. Then there's Trigon of Corruption that can place counters wherever you want, whenever you want, and you can proliferate its charge counters back up. Nice combo there. Gnarled Effigy is about as straightforward as this deck gets. Tap mana, tap artifact, place counters, profit. Then Contagion Engine and Contagion Class proliferate like ballers, getting more and more snakes and counters, and just, it's so beautiful. I can't properly explain how beautiful it all is. It's a masterpiece of death. Now you might be thinking to yourself, this is probably enough ways to place counters. No, you're wrong. It isn't. Remember, this entire deck needs counters to function. It needs snakes to win the game. It needs chaos and destruction and sadness. In a multiplayer game, Ammon Eternal is going to die quickly, but if it isn't removed immediately, it'll create 5 tokens on the way to death. Cinder Haze Wretch is hysterical, forcing discards and giving you snakes to force more discards. Corrosive Mentor gives most of your creatures Wither, so I mean, that's a real boss. Dusk Urchins doesn't technically wreck anything, but it does draw you cards cards that will wreck things. One of the cooler cards in this deck, so cheap in digital, so expensive in paper. Midnight Banshee comes with Wither and also, creates a million snakes that will die on your next upkeep, hopefully triggering one of your aristocrat cards, then you win the game, no big deal. Phyrexian Hydra introduces Infect to the game, and if you deal even a single point of Infect to any opponent, they'll probably die soon after, and create snakes easily. Serrated Arrows is more on demand counter placement that can be proliferated back up if you need it. Glistening Oil latches onto a creature, gives you a snake at the beginning of your upkeep, and then if that creature dies, you get the oil back. Stupid thing never goes away. Serrated Biskellion gives you 2 snakes for a single tap, and being able to remove counters from creatures will let you use the Biskellion again and again, creating even more snaky boys. Lethal Sting is removal that gives you a 1/1, and we're even running Grasping Dunes because why not let our lands place counters too? Heck yeah, everyone is going to hate us. With all this -1/-1 counter placement, we need ways to capitalize. It isn't enough to just place the counters, we have to do more. Necro Skitter is a bomb in this deck, returning basically every creature that dies to your side of the battlefield. It's truly a monster. Blowfly Infestation is a chain destruction enchantment. Something dies, put a counter on a creature, get a snake. Something dies, put a counter on a creature, get a snake. As a matter of fact, Blowfly Infestation plus Hapatra plus Obelisk Spider or Zulapur Cutthroat, and any way to kill something, boom, infinite combo and death. You kill something, put a counter on a snake, create a snake, snake dies, put a counter on the snake, create a snake, snake dies, put a counter on the snake, and all the while, your opponents are being drained by the spider, or cutthroat, or noble, or archer. Devastating combo that is criminally easy to put together, and your opponents will not see coming. Like I said, it's death to everything. Crumbling Ashes is also a nice combo with Blowfly Infestation, even without, destroys most any creature you don't like. Then we have Flourishing Defense, is so funny, adds to your massive 1/1 creature count, gives more tokens to throw away and trigger your drain effects. Nothing about this card is defensive at all, trust me. Nest of Scarabs gives you a bunch of creatures because it says whenever you put 1 or more -1/-1 counters on a creature, create that many 1/1 insects. That many! That means that you're getting an insect for every individual counter ever. That is broken. Then Generous Patron, this card is truly outrageous, drawing cards like a fiend off most of your deck. For a green-black deck to have this kind of draw in it is a godsend. As you can see, we're putting together a truly nightmare-ridden strategy and we're not even done yet. This deck is very good at creating lots of creatures, so let's take advantage of that. Creekwood Liege makes all your tokens bigger no matter the kind of token they are, and it creates even more tokens for you to work with. Cryptolith Rite is a ramp spell that propels you to turn 10 by turn 4 most of the time. Truly busted in this deck. Vampiric Rite does card draw and life gain for the low cost of 2 mana and a token. Second Harvest is amazing, doubling up all the tokens. This card usually ends the game when it's cast. Fodder Cannon is fun creature removal, nothing better than chucking an insect or a snake out of a cannon, that's good times. Then, no big deal, we have Overrun. No one expects Overrun in this deck, and I've never lost a game where I cast it. By that I mean I kill every opponent simultaneously. No one thinks about the aggression from a bunch of 1/1s, they just don't want counters on their stuff. Overrun destroys games, well worth including in this deck, it's just so good. Plague Maw Beast is an excellent sacrifice outlet that gets rid of a 1/1 snake to create a bunch more by proliferating counters all over the place. Stronghold Assassin sacrifices creatures to destroy creatures if you don't want to wait for the -1/-1 counters to do the job. Totally understandable, we have things to do. Vati Ildal turns the biggest creatures into X1s, making it easy for our 1/1s to block, even the ones without Death Touch, very nice. And then Death Reap Ritual, this card is insane. Creatures will die every single turn, they just will. You get to draw a card on each end step if you want to. This enchantment is downright powerful. Some miscellaneous spice to round out the deck. Puppeteer Clee comes back with a -1/-1 counter on it after it dies, that's convenient. But then you also get to steal creatures, fun. Since basically all creatures will die at some point, the Cleek has its pick of the litter at least twice. Synergistic with this deck for sure. Quill Spike is an interesting bit of tech to remove -1/-1 counters from creatures you don't want to die just yet. What's nice is it only costs 1 black or green mana each time and no tapping, so you can keep using it. Overlooked card. Whisper Silk Cloak lets Hapatra get in for combat damage. It lets Phyrexian Hydra get in for infect damage and basically end the game. It's real good. Then Diabolic Tutor grabs anything you want in the deck, considering the heavy amount of removal and -1/-1 counter synergy cards in this deck. The Tutor will always be live to grab something you want, either putting together the infinite combo we spoke about earlier, or get an oppressive card no one can deal with. We're also running a few more pieces of removal in Petrify and Spread the Sickness. Petrify is versatile and Spread proliferates, so easy include and only 1 cent on Magic Online. In addition, there's a bunch of rampant fixing in the deck to make sure we can play everything we have in our hand as fast as possible. Dawn Treader Elk is an easy blocker that turns into mana, then Harrow, Cultivate, Grow from the Ashes, Rampant Growth, and Golgari Signet help us get our mana online. Foundry of the Consoles and Spawning Bed give us more tokens to work with. Grim Backwoods is another sacrifice engine for drawing cards. Then there's Foul Orchard, Golgari Guild, Gate and Jungle, Hollow for duels, Evolving Wilds to search for basics, and the 37 land mana base is rounded out by 15 swamps and 14 forests, easy peasy. This deck is incredibly fun to play, so when you play it for a single dollar online and you inevitably want to upgrade the list, I got you back with some sick inclusions. Black Sun Zenith is probably the best card this deck isn't currently running, a snake producer for sure. Skull Clamp is going to draw roughly 1 billion cards. Beastmaster Ascension is a win condition for the aggressive side of the deck, making your tokens 6/6s, that's gross. Devoted Druid is solid mana ramp and counter producer. Sashiro the Anointed is absurd with your army of snakes, drawing cards whenever each of them deals combat damage to player, and they're now 3/3s. Parallel Lives doubles up tokens, easy upgrade. Blood Artist is another win condition via death to tokens. Cauldron of Souls gives everything persist, which effectively loads you up on snake tokens if they're blocked. And finally, Triumph of the Hordes is a brutal win condition, and if you play this card, your friends will stop playing Magic with you. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hapatra, Vizier of Poisons, is a fun, powerful, and versatile commander. For only a single dollar, you can build one of the most unique decks in Commander and dumpster players from all over the world on Magic Online, again for a single dollar. Please click the link in the description to check it out. Magic Arena is never going to have Commander, so before everyone else figures that out, grab these Commander staples on the cheap, literally 1 cent each for so many of them. Let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future and I'll do my best, especially budget Commander decks for Magic Online like this. And as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.